Hello, hello. This is Brian Lawrence with Clazar, the cloud sales acceleration platform, and I'm so excited to have two of our favorite folks from one of our favorite customers, Andre and Lisa from Rootly. Andre, Lisa, how are you doing today?
Doing
Great.
well. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Would you mind briefly, Andre, we'll start with you. Would you mind briefly introducing yourself and sharing what Rootly does?
Yeah, definitely. My name's Andre King. I run the sales team here at Rootly. Rootly is a incident response and on-call management tool helping to disrupt what's been a slow-moving industry in the past. We help companies like NVIDIA, Canva, Dropbox, Clay, hundreds of others to automate their incident response process and also bring them into a future of AI on call and helping to respond to incidents leveraging AI.
Amazing. And Andre, what do you do there at Rootly?
Yeah, I run the sales team. So I joined the company about 3 years ago. Previous to this, I was at AWS for a couple of years, and now I lead our AE and BDR organization.
And Lisa, I know you're the one who keeps Andre in line, but share a little of what you do and how you run things.
Yeah, my name is Lisa. I run revenue operations here at Truthly. I'm a team of one for now, so it's a busy life. I manage everything from process to tech to kind of some of billing and finance as well. So lots on my plate every day, keeping the sales team in line and also helping them through the process.
Well, thank you so much both for being here. And I think Andre, I'll speak on behalf of every sales leader who we are so grateful to have a strong partner on the RevOps side and to help us. And one of the biggest things that we're always looking for is, hey, how do we close deals? How do we close them more quickly? And Lisa, I know that's one of the reasons why AWS Marketplace, but tell us a little bit about why Rootly has chosen to invest in AWS Marketplace and views that as a channel to help close deals and bring customers on board and things like that.
Yeah, so previously having worked at Amazon, I know the power that working through cloud marketplaces has. Companies have been investing in the marketplace for literally decades at this point. So, when it comes to our go-to-market organization and being able to tap into, predefined budgets and EDPs and things like that, it's really an unlock for us as as we move further into sales cycles and it helps accelerate those deals just because, companies have well-established processes and for buying through the marketplace. So it really does reduce the friction in the cycle. And so that's a very large component, right? As you mentioned, Brian, trying to close deals quicker. I think there's also just a large reduction in the administrative burden as well. And anything I can do to make Lisa's life easier is what I want to do. So.
We always want to stay on the good side of RevOps. And Andre, before I go to Lisa to talk a little bit more about the current process, maybe just describe, I think you have kind of a unique perspective since you were at AWS and now you're on the other side of it. What did you see at AWS and how's that kind of translated as you've gone to being a partner with AWS?
Yeah, I think, being a seller at AWS, you have a million different things that are coming at you all of the time and that you're trying to stay on top of. And I think, being able to work with companies that, have chosen to dedicate themselves to going through the marketplace and be, a true partner is huge because AWS sellers are seen as the trusted advisor to their customers. And, customers are entrusting their core infra for decades to come to them. So being able to leverage the marketplace and come as a partner to those sellers is absolutely huge, right? I think it gains a level of trust that otherwise, you're building throughout the sales cycle and building partnerships with your customers, which you can do, but this really gives you a way to unlock that speed, that trust a lot quicker.
And Lisa, maybe you can walk us through a little of that process of getting onto the cloud marketplaces and what that looked like, even before you started working with Clazar.
Yeah, I mean, without Clazar, it's really painful to be honest. Just like I from my experience that been a bit limited, but like doing anything on directly on AWS Marketplace is very painful, very confusing. Like it's every time we log on into the backend, it's like finding where things are and creating products. It's just yeah, it's not. I think yeah, you need like a specific training to know how to do it, where to find things, like how to do it correctly. There is really not that much guidance. So definitely having a tool like Clazar makes it a lot easier. Before we were on Clazar, we were with another competitor that like does offers similar services, but it was definitely again like less confusing than doing it directly through AWS, but more confusing than doing it through Clazar, and it just didn't work for us as well. Like the support wasn't that great. Like we had a lot of questions in the beginning, and we just couldn't get the right answers. Like yeah, so Clazar was really a lifesaver for us there in terms of getting set up and making things easy for us.
Amazing. And our feelings weren't hurt that you started with somebody else, but we're really happy that you came over to us. What was that switch process like? You know, how from your perspective, what needed to be done internally, and that port process working with Clazar, was that pretty seamless? Were there challenges, or was there anything that stood out in moving over from a competitor to moving over to Clazar to help manage marketplace?
Yeah, I know like our technical team managed like the heavy lift there in terms of the migration, and I know, it is a lot of work, right? As with any like AWS migration, it's not something done in one click, but Clazar's team was very helpful through the process and they supported us very well there. So yeah, I know it's always a little bit painful to migrate systems, but they made it as seamless as possible for us. And on my end, in terms of like setting up all the integrations with Salesforce, setting up billing, like that was all pretty seamless and straightforward. And yeah, the team was very helpful throughout the process. So
Great.
yeah.
And then Andre, as a sales leader, like you invest in these programs, you roll these things out, and you're like, this is going to be amazing. Now you actually have to get the sales reps to do it, to adopt these new programs you've put in place, to utilize things like the Salesforce integration into ACE. What have you seen, and how has that worked at Rootly in terms of driving adoption with your sales team?
I think like with everything, it's never quite perfect on our side from a process perspective, but from a perspective of like how Clazar has helped us with it, like I really don't have to think about it. To Lisa's point, like we automatically, upload all of our deals in, engage with the teams because we know who they are. And I would also say like it's the kind of tool that I don't want to have to think about, and I know I don't have to with Clazar. Like it's just like it just works. And if I ever have an issue, I've got a direct connection into the team. Lisa and I get it sorted, within the hour. And so it's really been an unlock from that perspective. And then, thinking about like how we want to be using it is we want to continue to grow the amount of revenue we're driving through the AWS marketplace. And I think that's what's so special about this kind of alignment between, Clazar, Rootly, and AWS, right? Is it's very much a flywheel in terms of AWS reps want things going through the marketplace. Most importantly, customers want it going through the marketplace, and you guys enable us to do that.
And Lisa, something Andre mentioned, and I was hoping maybe you could shed some light on. He mentioned opportunities were just automatically loaded
Yeah.
into ACE and what that looked like. Can you describe a little of what that magic looks like and how you helped create that?
Yeah, for sure. I remember when we first started using Clazar and like, I was learning more about how marketplaces work and the reps told us, you need to create those cost opportunities, right, to get any value out of it. And Andre and I had a chat. I was like, well, we need to get the team to create them. And he was like, well, that's just not going to happen realistically, right? Getting used even though it's pretty easy to create it manually for Clazar, but it's, takes like five to 10 clicks in different places. So Andre was like, that's just not going to happen. And then shortly after, I found out that there is a way to auto create them, and that was a huge unlock for us in terms of process. Like I just weren't doing it manually, like they were, creating maybe like 1 out of 20 opportunities, like the really big ones. But the automated sync works really well. again, I had a call with Clazar team to set it up, but it's pretty straightforward. Like they walk me through all the steps. And then once you have it in place, it syncs pretty seamlessly. Like sometimes we get some little errors and stuff, but other than that, it works very well. And you can see, like in Salesforce, we have a widget showing. So on every opportunity, you can see the call sell opportunity right there. So it's kind of, the visibility is there. You can see, okay, it's been created. It's there. You can click into it and open it if you want. And then the reps get an email saying like an AWS rep was assigned to your opportunity and they can reach out. So it works really well for us. And we just wouldn't be doing it without the automation. So it's a big unlock.
AEs love when you automate things for them,
Yeah,
and they get to spend more time selling, and just these things magically happen in the
exactly. Yeah.
background. So, Andre, one of the things I always think about when we bring in a new technology, I want to make sure, hey, I'm able to and establish a new partnership or invest in a partnership like you've done with AWS, that they're metrics that we're not just talking about like, oh, hey, it's been great, but how do we quantify that? And maybe you can share some of the things that you've looked at as metrics for measuring the success of partnering with Clazar, partnering with AWS, and maybe some of what you've seen to date, and maybe share some of how you're thinking about it in the future and where some of the opportunities are from a metric standpoint.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a couple, I think about it similarly to, just generally how you would manage a pipeline, right? So ultimately it's, before working with Clazar, how many opportunities were we putting through AWS Marketplace? How many were we making AWS aware of? And frankly, the number was quite small, right? Whereas now we know we have 100% coverage on active deals and or close to. Some customers don't use AWS, believe it or not. And then beyond that, measuring how many times, interacting, with AWS reps, and then ultimately how many opportunities are going through the marketplace, and what is that revenue share as well, right? So that those are some of the numbers that we look at. I think from a high level, going forward, the goal really is to drive that partnership further and deeper into kind of the AWS ecosystem and ensure that we're able to increase our numbers in terms of overall deals done through the marketplace.
And Lisa, as Andre and the team are driving all these new opportunities, driving them through marketplace, it's great to get someone to accept a private offer or to sign a deal, but you got to get paid. The company has to get paid, and then the rep gets paid stemming from that. How do you think about that? What has it been like working with AWS on the billing side? Has that made your life more challenging? Has it made things easier? What's that experience been like?
Yeah, that's a good question. In general, like I'm on the billing side, it does make my life a little bit harder every time a deal goes through AWS, just because like we don't bill them directly, right? Like I don't really have control over collections, and it's very regular with AWS, right? Like some deals take, like I don't know. I see some payments come like very quickly, and some take 2 months maybe, and like we just get a lump payment from like Amazon that doesn't really, it doesn't really break it down by customer, right? It's just like, oh,
We got money. Who
yeah,
gave
we
it to
got
us?
we got 10K. Like how do I attribute it to invoices, So with Clazar makes it really easy for me to see like revenue billed by month, and most importantly like revenue disbursed, so I can see, okay, like we got a disbursement in the month of December. It was this much, and then I can click into it, and like that number matches with what we're getting in our bank account, and then I can click into it and see by customer which invoices, like which private offers those payments were associated with. So then it's much easier for me to reconcile in our billing system. So yeah, I can't imagine like doing it without Clazar, because you can't really find that anywhere else.
Okay. And Andre, as a final question, what words of wisdom, as a man who's sat on both sides, who's been at AWS, now you're on the ISV side as a partner, what words of wisdom would you have for other software companies that are looking to invest in this type of partnership with AWS and Marketplace?
Um, I think it's all about working backwards from the customer and what the customer needs. That's how we run things here at Rootly, and it's something that AWS is famous for as well. And I think as long as everybody is focused on doing what's right for the customer, ultimately the outcomes are going to be positive. And this is a symbiotic relationship that does exactly that for our mutual customers. So it's yeah, focus on the customer and their outcomes.
I couldn't say it better myself. I think that's a great final closing note. Andre and Lisa, it is no surprise that Rootly's had the amazing success that they've had, in part because of the efforts of folks like you. Thank you so much for coming and spending a little time and sharing about your experience. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Great
Thank
chatting with
you.
you.
Thanks for having us.